Topic, what should I know before I renovate?
So now just make sure that when you are actually going to be buying a particular property, it has an approved plan.
Or I need to know that my refurb duration will take X amount of months, so that I can consider that when it comes to decision making.
What? You as the property investor, don't at any point say that it's not that bad. So I think. Hey there.
Hello everybody, you are tuned into Know Wealth. My name is Neo.
And my name is Lebo.
Today we'll be speaking about quite an interesting topic. What should I know before I renovate? Because with property investing, it's quite exciting, especially if you got the money or the credit, you've got the property in place and you'll be like, you know what? I've got the best interior design that I know. I've seen these tiles. What should I know? What should I take into account, especially as a property investor, before I start renovation?
Before we go into content, if you were actually hoping that you were going to be RSVPing on the last minute, unfortunately that won't be possible because now we are actually fully booked.
Yeah, man. And that's quite exciting. So see you then on the 1st of May. If you didn't, best make sure that you do reserve on the next one.
So now the first point that we actually wanted to make, right, is if you are actually going to be buying a property, what are the possibilities of getting the plan approved, right? So now what do we mean about that? There are a lot of places whereby people are just saying that I have a property and this property is registered in my name. So nobody's going to actually be telling me that what should I do or what shouldn't I do. So now in that particular case, what mostly happens is that people buy a property without asking for an approved plan from the municipal. So now, if you actually bought that particular property and you don't have the approved plan that goes with that particular property, that becomes a problem for you to actually now sell this property. So now let's take, for instance, right, Neo bought this particular property and this property doesn't have an approved plan. But now he refurbed it, he fixed it, and now he wants to sell this particular property. But now the problem is that the next person is going to be saying that, Neo, can I please have an approved plan of this particular property? If Neo doesn't have the approved plan, it then becomes a problem for Neo to actually resell this particular property.
I mean, we see this all the time. To bring this into the most practical example ever, imagine having a 5-bedroom. So in reality, we all know that it's a 5-bedroom house. However, only to find out that the actual approved plan is only for 2-bedroom. And now you wouldn't want to find yourself buying such a deal, not understanding what is on paper, because as property investors, what we buy is that we buy what is on the paper. So it's very important that it is approved by the municipality so that it doesn't catch up with you as a buyer at a later stage, because this is what I would also like to tell property investors, that you always need to have an open mind when it comes to property investing. So even if it's just for rental, you shouldn't block out the possibility of you selling, because you'll never know. You only find a good deal after 5 to 10 years from now, then you want to sell. You were thinking for 10 years that your property is a 5-bedroom, only to find out that it's actually a 2-bedroom. And now it will be a problem when it comes to selling, especially if that person that will be buying does know their story and they will be demanding that plan. So you best make sure that you know the implications that come with the property when it comes to knowing the plan before developing.
So now the question that you might be having right now is that, why do I need a plan? Why do I need an approved plan? So now here's the thing. An approved plan basically means that everything that's within that particular property is actually recognized by the municipal. So now what do you mean by recognized by the municipal? Say for instance, someone decided to actually stretch this particular property, right? They have a property on the plan, it says it's a 2-bedroom, but now when you go in reality, it's a 5-bedroom. It might be possible that this person actually stretched this particular house onto the plumbing system of that particular property. And if that's the case, chances of you getting this particular plan approved become slim, because what happens if there is a problem with the plumbing system in that particular area? They have to now come into your property and demolish that whole part that has that particular problem. So now just make sure that when you are actually going to be buying a particular property, it has an approved plan.
And then the second one is that you want to know, especially as a property investor, you want to, not only as a property investor, even a home buyer, you'd want to know the exact price of comparables within your area. So what am I speaking about when I'm saying that? Is that if my neighbor is having a similar house, we both have a pool, we both have 2 bedrooms, and it has one bathroom and a garage, I'd want to understand the whole market around what is happening in that area, because the last thing I want to do is that I overcapitalize or I overinvest within that house, only to find out that most of my neighbors that are sharing the same qualities are actually selling it below. So especially when it comes to flip. So when it comes to flip, I'm buying it below market value. I'm going to do some renovations and I'm going to sell it back. I would like to know that how much my neighbors, how much is the value of my neighbors, so that I don't overcapitalize. Because what will happen is that if I do overcapitalize and then now I'm faced in a situation whereby everybody knows that in this area, houses around this area go about 900,000, and only to find out that I'll start making that profit at 950,000. Now I'm forced to sell it at about 1 million something. And now what that can actually do, it can actually be against you, whereby the finer details, especially when it comes to the finer details, might be expensive. Now, people are not actually grabbing onto it, because as a property investor, you also have to be thinking just like as a buyer. Just like a buyer. So if a buyer will be like, you know what, as much as I'm looking for the aesthetics, I'm also looking at the budget. So you also have to consider that in your planning, so that you do not overinvest in your property.
So I like that you actually spoke about overinvesting, right? Remember, you can also underinvest. So now what's a situation whereby you're underinvesting? So now say for instance, you're buying this particular property that's within an estate, right? And then these houses are actually being sold at around 5 million. And when you see most of the houses in that particular area have marble floors, if you are actually going to be using relatively cheaper equipment to actually renovate this particular house and you're putting in your normal tiles, that property won't actually be competitive in that particular market. So now it's always important that once you actually see a property, or once you actually spot a particular property and you saying that you are actually going to be investing in this property, you now need to firstly start seeing that what kind of houses am I actually investing in? Number two, you need to know your target market that you're actually dealing with. Are you on the high end, or are you in the middle class, or are you on the lower end? In order for you to know that if I'm going to be renovating, this is what I need to actually be thinking about. So now it's either you're going to overinvest or underinvest. So now you don't want to be in between the two. You want that sweet spot that's in between, whereby you actually bought this property, you put in the right type of things in that particular property to make it compatible within this particular market.
And you know, these things, as we speak about them, it might seem as if it's general knowledge. However, you find so many people in these situations whereby, you know what, I put so much money in this property. However, the bank's saying they can't finance it. Or I didn't think that I should actually go to the municipal. I've been living in this house for X amount of years and I don't have a plan. So with this information, we're bringing it to light. It might seem as if it's general knowledge. However, it's the information that can actually make or break your property journey, and we'd like to actually add value and make sure that we put this on the table. Last but not least,
before we go into the last one, right? If you haven't actually had a one-on-one with us and you actually want to interact with us, make sure that you go down on the description. We will actually put in a Calendly link so that you can actually book a session with us.
Last but not least, man, looking at the duration of the project as a whole, it's very important to consider that before you even buy. Why am I saying that? A lot of people will be like, you know what, I'm just going to flip, so I'll just need maybe 30K to fix and then I'm sorted. However, now when it comes to property investing, especially as a flip, looking into flip or even rent, looking at flip and rent, we are working on a specific return on investment that we are gunning for. Now, the only way that you can understand that specific return on investment is understanding your operational costs as a whole until I'll be done with my project. So therefore, I need to know that my duration, my refurb duration will take X amount of months, so that I can consider that when it comes to decision making. Why am I saying that that is very important? I mean, when you look at a situation whereby we just bought a distressed, it was burned down, only to find out that it will take us 9 months to start renting out. I mean, for somebody, we differ as people, especially as investors. Somebody will be like 9 months is nothing. However, for us, we are quite strict when it comes to return on investment, because personally, I want to start cash flowing positive from month one. And already when I'm putting such a situation whereby I'll be in a project and I'll only be earning 9 months, even though it made sense buying it way below market value, even though it made sense buying it in that good area. Now, this question of 9 months comes to question that, should I really go into this deal or not?
So now where it actually becomes interesting is that you as the property investor don't at any point say that, it's not that bad. So I think 2 months would be sufficient for this particular property. This is where your contractor is going to be actually effective on this particular spot. So now the process behind it is just getting your contractor when you're going to view. And then they will be the ones that will tell you that, you know what, looking at this particular property, it won't really take us that long, or looking at this particular property, it's going to take us X amount of months. So now when you're looking at that information, you can then plan forward before you actually do the purchase. So now say for instance, if you are able to actually hold this particular property for only 2 months and your contractor is going to take around 6 months to do the renovation, it then becomes a problem on your side. Whereas if you had actually contacted your contractor before the project actually starts, they would have actually told you that, you know what, this project is going to take plus minus 6 to 7 months, of which I only hear 7 months. And then you, on the other hand, will then go back to your numbers and run your numbers based on a 7-month holding period.
Yeah. I mean, that's it, guys. So these are our top 3 points that one needs to consider before renovating. Because if you don't consider these top 3, trust me, it can actually mess up your whole deal. It's very important that we take such into consideration, and we took something into consideration. We really appreciate your support. I mean, this is our 2nd event that we've been hosting. Quite excited about it. I really appreciate, when somebody does not only look at your content, however, they're part of your journey. And when you're saying that, gents, ladies, let's actually do this, and then people come through and say, we're supporting this vision, I'm really inspired, and I can't wait for end of this year to reflect throughout the year that, you know what, we did this video, we spoke with the team, we're like, guys, we're going to explore the whole of South Africa, and we did just that. Really want to just bring value to you.
And it's important
that you subscribe. Please do subscribe. If you haven't subscribed, do subscribe.
No, well,
signing out.